I need you to drive me to Sissy's. I need to get something.
Why are people calling this the worst episode of Severance? A quick glance at episode ratings on IMDb shows that Severance was averaging a rating of 8.5, reaching as high as 9.7, and as low as 7.7. But the episode Sweet Vitriol is currently sitting with a rating of 6.7, far and away the lowest of the series. Audiences are reducing the episode to nothing more than filler. But what exactly is a filler episode? Are all filler episodes bad? And do Severance fans have a right to be frustrated with the episode Sweet Vitriol? At its most basic function, filler episodes don't progress the main storyline of the series in any meaningful way. They're usually slower paced, focused more on dialogue than action, and multiple locations. They contain very little conflict or tension, or at least conflict and tension that affects the main storyline. And they usually focus on a side character, with the main characters noticeably absent.
I like the quiet.
Filler episodes are usually born out of necessity. For decades, network television has needed to fill their lengthy fall and spring schedules, which means that TV shows often have season orders of around 24 episodes. That's a lot of television to write year after year. And if a vast majority of episodes move the main storyline forward, filler episodes are still needed to help fill out the season order. Filler episodes have become synonymous with anime, and that's because they rely heavily on them as a stalling tactic, since many classic anime shows are released alongside their source material.
I'm the Avatar, silly, here to spread joy and fun.
Wait, is that a woman playing me?
The filler episodes help ensure that episodes are still produced without outpacing the source manga or light novel. They're also used as a way of fixing budgetary issues. If a show is going over budget, a quick way to get back on track is to make a very inexpensive episode. That means fewer locations, fewer actors, less action, more dialogue. That's why you'll see a lot of filler episodes overlapping with the similar category of bottle episodes. The term filler episode carries this negative connotation. It's treated almost like this dirty word, something inherently less than. I can understand the negative sentiment against these episodes. It felt more forgivable in the days of 24-episode seasons, but now with episode orders drastically reduced to 8, 10, 13 episode seasons, dedicating an entire episode away from the main storyline can feel like a waste of time. Filler episodes have a tendency to follow up exciting, pivotal moments in the main storyline, and so these episodes can be frustrating since they feel like a complete killer of momentum. Filler episodes can sometimes be the low point of a series. The Ted Lasso episode Beard After Hours was a result of Apple upping the episode order after the first season's unexpected success. And so this is a classic example of having a main storyline mapped out and suddenly having to fill the increased episode order. The Stranger Things episode The Lost Sister was met with mostly negative reviews. A big part of that is because the episode before it had such a fantastic cliffhanger, and The Lost Sister completely killed that momentum with a standalone storyline for 11 that also seemed to serve as the series testing out a possible spin-off that no one was interested in.
Sorry about Jane. Yeah. Me too.
The Breaking Bad episode Fly is still rated as the worst episode of the series, which I'll never understand. The two-hander of Walt and Jesse feels like a play, with Walt's fly obsession perfectly paralleling his overwhelming guilt. It's amazing, but definitely a departure that Vince Gilligan happily admits was a result of going over budget in the season.
We were over budget for the season. We needed to save a big chunk of money. Therefore, because of that very real-world production problem that we had created for ourselves previously to this episode, we came up, for my money, as one of the very best episodes we've ever done.
One of the most popular examples of a despised filler episode comes from the Lost episode Exposé. The infamous episode follows Nikki and Paolo, two strangers from Oceanic 815 that we'd basically never seen in the first 2.5 seasons. It actually stands up as a solid standalone episode, but the departure from the main storyline was really frustrating for fans. And it was after that maligned third season that the writers landed on their creative endpoint that would consist of 3 shortened seasons and much less filler episodes. It's a mistake to lump all filler episodes into the same category, because they can be crucial aspects to the structure of a show, and they can also be the high point of a series.
Minister here.
Yeah, that's me.
You are assigned to be chaplain for our division.
Is that so?
The season premiere of The Righteous Gemstones' final season, Prelude, is a complete departure from the rest of the series, focusing on the family's beginnings and ministry during the American Civil War. A creative decision like this is a risky one to start the season and could be dismissed as filler, but I think it's actually the best episode in the entire series. An experimental, standalone episode that tells its own beautiful story. The Suitcase is considered one of the best, if not the best episode of Mad Men, a simple two-hander with Don and Peggy that seems to capture all the major themes of the show while focusing on Don and Peggy's unique relationship.
I give you money, you give me ideas.
And you never say thank you.
That's what the money is for.
The Last of Us episode, Long, Long Time, was a beloved episode from the show's first season, focusing on a post-apocalyptic love story that packed a real emotional punch. In its second season, The Bear really knew how to utilize filler episodes. A perfect example is the episode Honeydew, that focuses primarily on side character Marcus in Denmark. Filler episodes feel like a necessity on The Bear, a show with such heightened intensity and stress. Sometimes you need that calming breath to slow things down before you ramp things up again. I think a large issue with The Bear's third season is that it largely felt like filler over substance. The balance was inverted, and as a result, the season felt aimless with little to no progression of a main storyline. The X-Files had filler episodes built into the structure of the show. There was the overarching mythology episodes, but in between those were the Monster of the Week episodes, which were basically standalone episodes with Mulder and Scully venturing out into the world of these mysteries. The mythology episodes were important for the larger trajectory of the series, but if you were to ask fans of the show what their favorite episodes are, they'll most likely mention a Monster of the Week episode. These could tell an engaging, concise story with memorable characters in under an hour. And other shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Fringe followed suit with similar structures that relied on these filler Monster of the Week episodes as part of their DNA. So now we come back to the Severance episode, Sweet Vitriol. Immediately, you could tell that this was going to be a departure. They abandoned the title sequence, they abandoned the main cast, they abandoned the usual setting. In the episode, we follow Harmony Cobell, finally learning where she's been the past few episodes, as she travels back to her remote hometown, a place where Lumen once operated a factory that has now left the town and its people in shambles. We get insight into Cobell's upbringing, serving as child labor at the factory, seeing an old acquaintance, visiting the house she grew up in where her mother passed away, and her surviving aunt who was still absorbed in the cult of Kier. And in the end of the episode, there's this fascinating twist that Harmony Cobell actually invented the severance procedure that was stolen by Lumen.
My designs! Circuit blueprint, base code, overtime contingency, Glasgow block, all of it!
And as she leaves with proof of her invention, she's folded back into the main storyline, Mark reintegrating himself, and the stage is set for a climactic ending for Season 2. Now, do Severance fans have a right to be frustrated with this episode? Sure. It's what happens when a show's popularity rests on a larger mystery. The audience is so starved for clues and answers. The same thing happened with Lost. Anything else besides forward momentum can feel like a waste of time. I think fans would have been more forgiving had Severance not just had another filler episode in the previous episode that also chose to focus on another side character and their unique backstory and struggles inside Lumen. Like I said earlier, filler episodes can be frustrating when they seem to kill momentum dead in its tracks. In episode 6, Attila, we're left on a cliffhanger as Mark makes dangerous progress with reintegration. As the audience, we want to see what happens next to our cast of characters, but instead, we have not one, but 2 episodes where the main storyline is not moving forward. While this episode does qualify as filler, There's still information we learn that is vital to the show. We learn more about Lumen's dark past of employing children, and more examples of them exploiting people. Cobell has largely been a mystery, and so learning about her backstory and her important role in Lumen and the Severance procedure was a nice twist. And it does set up nicely for the final 2 episodes of the season. But it really does feel like the writers didn't have enough material worthy of a standalone episode. With a runtime of only 37 minutes, Sweet Vitriol is the shortest episode of the series so far. All of this information we learned probably could have been a B storyline that we cut to along with something else with more substance. Is Sweet Vitriol a good example or bad example of filler? Only time will tell as the series continues to play out, and this episode is able to have the larger context of the entire series around it. For all we know, we'll look back on this as a turning point in the entire series. But for now, fans have every right to want it severed from their minds.
Tell me everything.